The abduction. It was a quiet morning on Earth. The sun was rising, birds were singing, and the world seemed peaceful. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the danger that was about to fall upon them. In the small town of Millersville, a young boy named Timmy played with his dog, Max, in the backyard. Max was a loyal, friendly dog, with soft fur and kind eyes. He had been Timmy's best friend for years, always by his side, whether it was a walk in the park or a lazy afternoon at home. Timmy loved Max more than anything, and he never imagined that this morning would be the last time he'd see his pet. As Timmy threw a ball for Max, the sky suddenly darkened. It wasn't a storm, but a strange shadow that covered the sun. People around the world looked up, confused and alarmed. It wasn't a plane or a bird. It was something much larger, something far beyond human understanding. A massive triangular ship hovered above the town. The ship was silent, with no sound except the eerie hum that seemed to come from nowhere. It was an alien craft, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Timmy's heart raced as he looked up, his grip tightening on the ball. The people around him began to scream in panic, running in all directions. But Timmy didn't move. His eyes were locked on the ship, a mix of fear and curiosity filling his chest. What was happening? Who were these creatures? Without warning, a beam of light shot down from the ship. It was so bright that it almost blinded him. The light surrounded Max, lifting the dog off the ground. Timmy's voice caught in his throat as he watched in horror. Max barked once, but it was a helpless, terrified sound. The beam pulled Max higher, and before Timmy could even react, Max disappeared into the ship's darkness. Max! Timmy screamed, running forward, but the beam of light vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Max was gone. The ship began to move slowly, rising into the sky, higher and higher until it disappeared into the clouds. The world fell silent. No one knew what to do. The people stood frozen in shock, staring at the sky, unable to comprehend what had just happened. For Timmy, the world seemed to stop. He couldn't understand what he had just seen. His dog, his best friend, had been taken by that strange ship. He fell to his knees, his heart heavy with grief and fear. What were those aliens doing? Why did they take Max? News spread like wildfire. Across the globe, people had witnessed similar events. Dogs, cats, and other animals had been taken by the strange ship. Governments scrambled to make sense of the situation, but there was no explanation. No one knew who these aliens were or why they had chosen Earth as their target. All anyone knew was that they had taken our pets, and something had to be done. As the hours passed, fear spread through the world. Was this an invasion? Were these aliens planning to take more than just our pets? Timmy couldn't stop thinking about Max. He couldn't understand how the ship had taken him without warning, without explanation. He wasn't the only one. Millions of people around the world were asking the same question. Why? The world's leaders met in emergency sessions. The United Nations called for a global summit. Countries came together to discuss the situation, but no one had any answers. The aliens hadn't communicated, hadn't made any demands. They had simply taken our pets and left. But as the world mourned the loss of beloved animals, something began to change. A quiet anger began to grow, not just in the hearts of the people, but in the hearts of the leaders who had gathered to discuss the threat. They might not have known why the aliens had taken our pets, but they knew one thing for sure. Humanity was not going to stand by and let this happen. It wasn't just about pets. It was about something deeper. It was about the disrespect these aliens showed by coming to Earth, taking what belonged to us, and leaving without any explanation. The anger was building, and for the first time, humanity began to realize that they might have to fight back. Timmy didn't know what would happen next, but he could feel it deep inside. This was just the beginning. The aliens had no idea what they had unleashed, and Earth was ready to show them. Timmy, like many others, felt this anger. He looked around his town, at the faces of the people who had lost their pets. He could feel the rage growing inside of him. Max had been taken. His innocent, loving dog had been stolen by aliens. But Timmy was no longer just a boy with a pet. He was part of something bigger, part of a world that would no longer let its loved ones be taken without a fight. That night, as the world sat in shock, something shifted. People began to organize. They weren't just mourning their losses anymore. They were preparing. They began to talk about what needed to be done. Governments began to gather their best scientists, their brightest minds. They began to search for answers. And most importantly, they began to prepare for the fight that was coming. It wouldn't be long before the world would know the full extent of the alien threat. But Timmy knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. The aliens had made a huge mistake. They had taken humanity's pets, but in doing so, they had awakened something in humanity that the aliens could never have expected. Revenge. Dark plan. The world had not yet fully recovered from the shock of the abductions, and already, a sense of change was in the air. The alien ship had come without warning, taking pets from every corner of Earth. At first, people had been terrified, unsure of what the aliens wanted, or if they would return to take more. But over time, something else began to emerge, something powerful. People stopped waiting for answers. They started planning. In the small town of Millersville, Timmy sat by his window, staring at the sky. It had been days since Max had been taken, but the pain was still fresh. He felt an anger inside him that he couldn't explain. He was just a boy, but he wasn't the only one feeling this way. Across the world, every person who had lost a pet felt the same fire burning inside them. The media was buzzing with reports. Governments were scrambling to figure out what had happened, but they weren't getting any answers from the aliens. The ships had come and gone without a word. Earth had been left in the dark, the only sign of the aliens' presence being the strange, glowing craft in the sky and the empty homes left behind by the stolen animals. It wasn't long before Earth's leaders realized something they hadn't wanted to admit. They were completely unprepared. No one had expected an alien invasion. The military wasn't ready to fight against beings from another world. The world's greatest scientists were scratching their heads, trying to understand the technology behind the alien ships, but it was unlike anything they had ever seen. But there was something else, something the aliens didn't expect. Earth's people weren't just upset about losing their pets. No, this was about something far deeper. Humanity had always been a peaceful species, but that didn't mean they were weak. The loss of their pets had awakened something in them, a determination, a drive to protect what was theirs. The world's leaders started to work together, setting aside their differences, their anger turning into action. They knew they needed to act quickly. And so, the secret project began. In hidden labs across the world, the best minds of humanity came together to form a plan. If the aliens wanted to take what belonged to them, humanity would show them what they were capable of. But the world's leaders also knew something important. They had to strike before the aliens returned. They had to catch them off guard. The project was called Project Eclipse, and its goal was simple: build a fleet. But not just any fleet. This fleet would be unlike anything the world had ever seen, completely invisible to the naked eye, undetectable by alien technology. The idea was to use the element of surprise, to strike before the aliens could prepare for another attack. Timmy had no idea about the project. He was just a boy, after all. But as he sat there in his room, staring out the window, he could feel that something was different. He knew that Earth was no longer going to wait. They were going to fight back. It was late one evening when the first signs of this new project began to show. Across the world, small, discrete ships left Earth's atmosphere, heading into deep space. These ships were unlike any other. They were sleek, almost invisible, and they moved in the shadows. The humans had worked together to create the technology that would allow them to hide from the aliens, to move in secrecy. But even with these advancements, it wasn't enough. Earth needed a strategy, a way to weaken the aliens before they could retaliate. And so, The world's leaders came up with a plan. They would target the aliens' weak points, their colonies and their supply lines, all while keeping their fleet hidden. The aliens wouldn't know what hit them. The first target was an outpost deep in space, a station that the aliens had established to study the resources of distant planets. Earth's invisible fleet moved in quietly, its ships blending into the dark expanse of space. They had learned to use the aliens' own technology against them, using their stealth technology to remain unseen. The operation was a success. The outpost was taken without a single shot being fired. It was a sign. Humanity had the power to strike, and the aliens would no longer be able to act with impunity. Back on Earth, the people began to hear whispers of the victory. It wasn't just a small win. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Humanity had sent a message to the aliens. We are not to be underestimated, and we will fight to protect what is ours. For Timmy, it was hard to believe. The idea that Earth had a fleet capable of taking on the aliens seemed unreal. But he could feel the change in the air. The world was no longer living in fear. The quiet, peaceful planet he once knew was gone. In its place was a world ready for war. Timmy didn't know it yet, but the day was coming when he would see the full power of humanity's new fleet. The day when Earth would strike back, not just for their pets, but for their very survival. The aliens had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity. And soon, they would learn that Earth would not rest until they got back everything they had lost. The hunt was on, and humanity would stop at nothing to reclaim what was theirs. The gathering storm. Across the globe, the world was changing. The news of the first successful strike against the alien outpost spread like wildfire, and with it came a surge of hope. Humanity had shown that it could strike back. The aliens who had once seemed invincible now faced an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. But that was only the beginning. The real war was just starting. Timmy, still reeling from the loss of his beloved dog Max, found himself in a strange new world. Gone were the days of simply playing with friends or chasing after his dog in the backyard. Instead, he saw the world around him waking up to a new reality. Every country, every city, was buzzing with talks of the fight ahead. It wasn't just about getting back their pets anymore. It was about reclaiming their dignity and survival. In every corner of the earth, the leaders of nations met, making decisions that would shape the future. The United Nations had become the center of operations, with representatives from all over the world coming together to formulate a plan. The urgency in the air was palpable, as every leader knew the gravity of the situation. The aliens had taken their pets, yes, but they had also shown that they could strike without warning, and humanity had no idea what else they could do. Behind closed doors, the plan for Earth's defense began to take shape. Project Eclipse, the invisible fleet, was growing in strength. More ships were being built, and humanity's best engineers and scientists were working day and night to perfect the technology that would allow their ships to remain unseen by the aliens. But building a fleet was just one part of the puzzle. Earth needed a strategy, a plan that would turn the tide of the war in their favor. While the world's governments worked to prepare, something else was happening, something that could not be controlled. The people, the everyday men and women, were waking up. No longer content to wait for orders from their governments, they began to take matters into their own hands. From every corner of the world, resistance movements were forming. People were training, learning to fight, organizing themselves in ways they never had before. Timmy watched it all unfold on the news. There were protests, yes, but there was also an undeniable spirit in the air. People were no longer afraid. They were angry, determined, and ready to take on the alien invaders. The small boy who had lost his dog was no longer alone in his grief. The entire world was feeling the same way. In Millersville, Timmy's school had become a hub for training. While it wasn't officially part of any military program, volunteers from the town gathered to teach the kids self-defense, survival skills, and basic combat tactics. The town was transforming into a training ground, And Timmy found himself learning things he never thought he would. He wasn't just learning how to fight. He was learning that the fight was bigger than him. It was bigger than his grief. Meanwhile, the invisible fleet was growing. The alien outposts were being taken one by one. Each victory gave humanity more confidence, more strength, but also revealed the deep flaws in the alien empire. These invaders, who had once taken the pets of Earth with ease, were now scattered, confused, and struggling to adapt to Earth's stealth tactics. It wasn't long before humanity discovered something even more important. The aliens weren't just trying to conquer, they were also trying to escape. They were running out of resources, running out of time. But the world didn't know why. The human fleet, though hidden in the shadows, began to gather around the key alien supply lines. Earth wasn't just going to sit back and wait for the next move. It was making its own. But the strikes were calculated, precise. It was clear that humanity didn't want just revenge. They wanted to win. Across the world, nations began to speak with one voice. The days of individual countries acting alone were over. This war, humanity understood, required unity. Earth's fight against the aliens would not be won by force alone. It would require strength, strategy, and most importantly, the full support of every person on the planet. People were told to prepare, to be ready for the day the aliens would come again. The tension grew. There was no turning back now. For Timmy, the days leading up to the next phase of the war were filled with a strange mix of fear and hope. He trained harder, knowing that the fight wasn't just about taking back what had been lost. It was about standing up to something that threatened the very core of their existence. It wasn't just about Max anymore. It was about defending the future. The day would come when humanity would face the aliens head-on. But until then, they would keep preparing, learning from each strike, and building a world that was ready to fight back. Timmy's anger, his pain, wasn't just his anymore. It was the anger of an entire world, a world that had been hurt, but had risen stronger because of it. In every corner of the earth, people were gathering, training, and planning. The world was no longer just mourning. It was standing together, stronger than ever, and with every step they took, they knew one thing for sure. They would make the aliens regret the day they ever came to Earth. The storm was coming, and it was one the aliens wouldn't be able to stop. The first clash. The calm before the storm had been shattered. Earth was no longer just a peaceful planet, untouched by the horrors of war. It was now a battleground, a world united in the fight for survival. Across the globe, nations prepared for the inevitable clash with the alien invaders who had dared to take their pets, their loved ones, and their dignity. Timmy had changed. The boy who once played with his dog in the yard was now part of something much bigger. He was one of the millions of people training, learning, and preparing for the inevitable battle that was approaching. He had a fire inside him, a burning desire for revenge, not just for Max, but for everyone who had lost something to the aliens. Earth was no longer afraid. They were ready. It was late one evening when the first signs of the aliens' return appeared. A strange, low rumble echoed through the skies, sending a chill down the spines of everyone who heard it. The alien ships were coming again, and this time, they were not coming alone. The vast fleet that had once disappeared into the stars was now returning to Earth, more numerous than ever. Humanity's hidden fleet, Project Eclipse, was already in position. The ships were invisible, cloaked in the darkness of space, waiting for the signal to strike. The Earth's military forces, now united under one command, were ready. They had learned from their previous victories, and they knew the stakes had never been higher. Timmy stood with his classmates, looking up at the sky. His heart raced, his palms sweaty. They had been preparing for this moment for weeks, but nothing could prepare him for the fear that gripped him now. The ships, massive and ominous, began to appear in the sky, their sleek, metallic forms cutting through the clouds like shadows. They were here again, but this time, Earth would not go down without a fight. In a command center deep within a hidden underground base, the world's leaders watched in silence as the alien fleet appeared on their screens. It was the moment they had been waiting for, the moment they had prepared for. The global defense system was activated, and the countdown to launch began. Suddenly, the air around them crackled with energy. The invisible ships of Earth's fleet moved into position, their cloaking technology making them undetectable to the alien forces. It was a moment of pure tension. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The first strike came from the shadows. In a flash, the fleet of human ships opened fire. Missiles, laser beams, and energy blasts rained down on the alien ships, hitting their targets with deadly precision. The aliens were caught off guard, unable to react fast enough to the unexpected assault. The power of Earth's new weaponry was overwhelming. But it wasn't just the firepower that took them by surprise. It was the speed and the strategy. The humans had learned from their earlier victories and were using the element of surprise to their advantage. The alien ships began to fall from the sky, one by one. Explosions rocked the fleet as they were hit by Earth's advanced weaponry. Timmy could hear the cheering in the streets below, a roar of triumph and fear mixed together. Humanity had struck first, and they had struck hard. But the aliens were not done yet. As one ship fell, another rose to take its place. The alien fleet, though caught off guard, was far from helpless. They quickly regrouped, adapting to the unexpected attack with terrifying speed. Earth had not defeated them yet, not by a long shot. The aliens' massive ships began to fire back, their weapons far more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. The battle raged on, above Earth's atmosphere and in the skies above every city. People could see the flashes of light as the ships clashed, hear the distant sounds of explosions shaking the ground. But humanity was not retreating. They fought back with everything they had. Timmy, standing in the yard of his school, watched in awe as the battle unfolded in the sky above him. It was a sight unlike anything he had ever imagined. The aliens were powerful, but humanity was stronger than they had thought. Timmy could feel the pulse of the fight in his chest. He wasn't just a spectator. He was part of something much bigger. This wasn't just about taking back their pets anymore. This was a fight for their very survival. The first day of the battle ended with Earth having won a significant victory. The alien fleet, though still strong, had been forced to retreat. The skies were littered with debris, and the world watched as the humans celebrated their first taste of victory. But the war was far from over. As the world came together to count the cost, the truth set in. Humanity had proven they could fight back, but the aliens were not going to give up so easily. This was just the beginning. Timmy knew that, despite the victory, there would be much more to come. The aliens would return, and next time, they would be ready. But Earth had proven that it would not be intimidated. It had shown that even the most powerful invaders could be brought to their knees when humanity united. The battle was far from over. But Earth had made its statement loud and clear. We are not just survivors. We are fighters. And we will not back down. The hidden power. The battle had only just begun, but Earth had already made its mark. The first clash with the aliens had shown them something unexpected. Humanity would not be easy to defeat. The victory had brought a sense of hope, but also a realization that the road ahead would be long and difficult. The aliens had retreated for now, but they weren't defeated. They would regroup and come back stronger than ever, and humanity, knowing this, would have to be ready for the next wave. In the days following the first battle, the world's leaders worked tirelessly to keep the momentum going. The global defense forces were stronger than ever, but they also knew that to truly win, they needed more than just courage. They needed intelligence, and above all, unity. Earth had proven it could fight, but the aliens were not the type to give up easily. Timmy, back in his small town, found himself once again caught in the whirlwind of change. The sounds of planes and ships moving overhead were no longer strange. They were part of the new world. The sky had become a battlefield, and there was no turning back. The fight for Earth's survival was now personal for everyone, not just for those who had lost pets, but for everyone who wanted to protect their home and their future. But what Timmy didn't know, and what the rest of the world hadn't yet realized, was that the most powerful weapon Earth had wasn't just its fleet or its technology. It was something far more dangerous to the aliens, a secret that had been kept hidden for centuries. Deep within a secret government facility, a group of scientists had made an extraordinary discovery. For years, they had been working on deciphering the technology they had captured from the aliens after the first abduction. What they found was nothing short of incredible. Earth had an undiscovered power, one that the aliens never expected. It was hidden deep within the planet, and its potential was limitless. The power came from the very core of the Earth itself. The aliens had traveled the stars, conquering planets and civilizations, but they had never encountered anything like this. Humanity, in its simplicity, had something the aliens could not understand, nor could they replicate. The planet was alive with energy that the aliens had never encountered before. They had underestimated the power Earth held deep within its crust. At first, the scientists were unsure what to make of the discovery. It didn't make sense. Earth had been thought of as just another planet. Nothing extraordinary, nothing special. But what they had found was a powerful source of energy that could be harnessed and weaponized. This energy was capable of powering weapons that could not only defend Earth, but could also cripple the alien fleet. The discovery was a game changer. The aliens had underestimated the potential of this planet and its people. The energy buried deep within Earth's core was capable of turning the tide of the war. But it was dangerous. Harnessing it required immense precision, and no one could be sure of the outcome. But the world's leaders agreed. They had no choice. The aliens had shown no mercy, and now it was time for Earth to fight back with everything it had. Meanwhile, humanity's fleet, still hidden in the shadows of space, continued its attacks. The alien ships had regrouped, and the battle was escalating. Each side was testing the other, trying to find weaknesses, looking for the smallest crack to exploit. But as the alien ships ventured further from their base, they began to feel the pressure. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's resourcefulness. The unleashing. The skies were filled with the sounds of war. Explosions echoed across the horizon as humanity's fleet and the alien forces collided once again. The battle had escalated into a brutal, all-out war, but this time, Earth wasn't just fighting for survival. It was fighting with a new power, one that no one could have predicted. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, a team of the world's top scientists had been working around the clock. The discovery of the planet's hidden energy source had changed everything. It wasn't just a secret weapon. It was the key to Earth's victory. But the technology to harness the energy was still in its early stages. The risk of failure was immense, yet humanity had no choice but to move forward. The aliens were relentless, and the new weapon might be their only chance to defeat them once and for all. Timmy had heard rumors of the power hidden beneath the planet, but he had no idea how close the world was to unleashing it. He was once again at school, surrounded by the sounds of airplanes and the distant hum of military vehicles. It felt like every day the world was closer to an all-out war, but today something felt different. The air was electric, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Across the globe, military forces and scientists worked together, coordinating their efforts to deploy the new weapon. The plan was simple yet terrifying. The Earth's hidden power would be released directly into the heart of the alien fleet, with devastating consequences. It was a gamble, one that could either win the war or destroy everything in the process. In the command center, high above the chaos, world leaders gathered. They knew that this was it, the final strike. The alien fleet was in range, and Earth's forces were ready. The countdown had begun. "We've waited for this moment," General Walker said, his voice low and filled with determination. "Today we either end this war, or we risk everything." Across the room, the scientists working on the new weapon nodded in agreement. The power they had tapped into was unprecedented. It was a force that could rip apart entire fleets. It had the potential to change the course of the war in an instant. But as they prepared to launch, the weight of the decision settled on them all. Meanwhile, Timmy couldn't help but feel a sense of dread as the hours ticked by. He knew something huge was about to happen, but he didn't know what it was. All he knew was that the aliens were coming again, and this time, humanity was going to give everything they had. In space, the alien fleet was moving toward Earth, confident that they would easily crush the human forces. They had underestimated humanity before, but now they felt certain that their advanced technology would be enough to destroy Earth's resistance. They had no idea what was about to happen. As the alien ships neared, the final countdown began. Earth's forces were positioned, their hidden weapons prepared to strike. The air crackled with anticipation. This was humanity's last stand. This was their chance to end the war, to take back their world and their lives. The moment arrived. A massive beam of energy shot from deep within the Earth's core, a brilliant, blinding light that tore through the darkness of space. The force was like nothing the aliens had ever encountered. It was raw, untamed, and powerful. The beam slammed into the first alien ship, and in an instant, it was torn apart. The alien fleet had no time to react. The beam sliced through their ships one by one, disintegrating them in seconds. The alien forces, once so powerful, were reduced to rubble before they could even raise a defense. The shockwave from the blast rippled through space, and for the first time since the aliens had arrived, Earth was victorious. The fleet was gone, scattered across the void, and the remaining alien ships were retreating in a panic. Humanity had unleashed its hidden power, and it had worked. Back on Earth, Timmy watched in awe as the sky seemed to light up with the aftermath of the strike. The explosion had been visible even from the ground, a brilliant flash that marked the beginning of the end of the alien invasion. People all over the world were celebrating, their cheers echoing in the streets as news spread of Earth's victory. The war was over. But even as humanity rejoiced, there was a growing realization. The war had come at a great cost. The power they had unleashed had saved Earth, but it had also left deep scars. The Earth's surface had been damaged, cities had been destroyed, and countless lives had been lost. But humanity had survived. They had fought back against an enemy that had underestimated them, and now they stood victorious. Timmy, standing in the street with his classmates, felt a strange mix of emotions. He was proud of Earth, proud of the people who had fought for their world, but he also knew that the victory was bittersweet. Max was gone, and while Earth had won the battle, the scars of the war would remain. The people of Earth had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. They had defeated a power far greater than themselves and had emerged victorious. But they also knew that the future would not be easy. The world was rebuilding, and though the aliens had been defeated, humanity's journey was far from over. As Timmy looked up at the sky, he knew that the war was finally over. Earth had taken back what was theirs, and they had done so with a power that no one could have predicted. The alien forces had been crushed by the very planet they had sought to conquer. And for the first time in a long time, humanity could look toward the future with hope. The hidden power of Earth had been unleashed, and with it, humanity's future had been secured. Timmy, unaware of the secret power that was being uncovered beneath the Earth's surface, continued his training. The weight of the world seemed to be on his shoulders, but the young boy had a newfound determination. He wasn't just fighting for revenge anymore. He was fighting for the survival of his planet, his people, and for every person who had ever been wronged by the alien invaders. The tension was palpable. The aliens knew they could not underestimate Earth anymore, but they also knew that the planet's resistance was still fragile. They needed to strike again, but Earth's new weapons and unity were proving to be a serious obstacle. And that's when the real danger emerged. As Earth's forces prepared for the next strike, the alien fleet revealed their hidden card, a new weapon, unlike anything Earth had ever seen. The aliens had discovered something in their travels, something so powerful that it could destroy entire planets. The weapon was hidden aboard their flagship, and it was ready to be deployed. But Earth's leaders were ready. They had spent months preparing, and the time had come to strike before the aliens could activate their new weapon. The battle for Earth was about to reach its most dangerous point, and the stakes had never been higher. It was a race against time. Timmy watched the news with a mix of fear and excitement. The world's leaders had promised a final strike, a push to end the war once and for all. But what the young boy didn't know was that the real battle was just beginning. The hidden power beneath the Earth's surface would be unleashed, and humanity would learn just how far they were willing to go to defend their planet. The aliens had made one final mistake. They had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt, to fight, and to protect what was theirs. And now, humanity would show them the true power of the planet they had so carelessly attacked. The war was far from over, but the tide was turning, and for the first time, Earth's future seemed brighter than ever. The aftermath. The alien war was over, but the cost was heavy. Earth had won, but the scars of the battle were still fresh, and the planet's recovery was just beginning. The war had brought humanity together in ways never seen before. Nations that had once fought against each other were now united, working side by side to rebuild what had been destroyed. The victory over the alien invaders was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, but the true challenge lay ahead. Healing the wounds left by the war and ensuring that such a conflict never happened again. Timmy stood at the edge of a park in his small town, looking at the remains of the alien fleet scattered across the sky. The war had torn through the world, but now the Earth was beginning to heal. The air was thick with the scent of freshly planted trees and flowers as cities slowly began to rebuild. The once damaged landscapes were being restored, and life was returning to some semblance of normalcy. People who had once been strangers now worked together to rebuild homes, cities, and lives. The power of unity had proven stronger than any weapon the aliens had. But for Timmy, the victory felt hollow. His dog Max was still gone, and although the aliens had been defeated, the pain of losing his companion lingered. He watched the children around him play, their laughter filling the air, but a part of him was still missing. He knew the war was over, but he also knew that the scars of loss would take time to heal. The world's leaders stood together, overlooking the planet they had fought to protect. They had made promises to their people, promises of a better future, one where humanity would be stronger and more united. The victory had proven their resilience, but it was the future that would define them. The alliance formed in the fires of war would have to endure, because Earth's future was now in their hands. In the aftermath of the war, humanity had discovered something unexpected. The hidden power within Earth's core wasn't just a weapon. It was a resource. The energy source they had harnessed to defeat the aliens could now be used to power the planet's future. With the knowledge they had gained, Earth would no longer rely on fossil fuels or dangerous technologies. The energy of the planet itself could provide for all of humanity's needs, ensuring that future generations would never have to fear running out of resources. But with this new power came responsibility. The leaders of Earth understood that they had a duty to ensure that the mistakes of the past were never repeated. They couldn't allow the power of Earth to fall into the wrong hands. They couldn't let greed or corruption destroy the very thing that had saved them. Timmy felt a sense of pride as he looked around. The world was changing, and he was part of that change. He had grown up during the war, but now he was seeing the world through a new lens. He understood that there was more to the battle than just fighting. It was about building something better, something that would last. He knew that the future would be difficult, but it would be a future built on the strength of humanity's will. The alien forces, once so powerful and seemingly unbeatable, were gone. Earth had faced them down and won, but the price had been high. The battles were over, but the scars they left behind would shape the world for years to come. The aliens had underestimated humanity's strength, its resilience, and its will to survive. And now, the universe knew that Earth was not a planet to be messed with. But for Timmy, the victory wasn't just about defeating the aliens. It was about the people who had fought together, the communities that had come together to rebuild, and the future that was now within their grasp. It was about the lessons learned from the past and the hope for a brighter future. The war had shown humanity's true strength, and as the world looked toward the horizon, there was a sense of unity that had never existed before. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. The alien invaders had learned it the hard way, and now, humanity would use its newfound power to create a future of peace, unity, and hope. Timmy turned and walked home, the sun setting behind him. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The war had ended, but humanity's journey was far from over. The aliens had taken their pets, but they had no idea what they had unleashed in return. Earth had taken back its world, and with it, humanity had proved that it would always fight for its survival. No force, no matter how powerful, could ever take that away. For Mini.